The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Rudy's Revelation.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Now that you are gone, I can lift the dishes in the sink. When I go home at dawn,
what's up, people?
I can see your face in all my dreams.
Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Special report today on Saturday. I want to clear out the decks before tomorrow's Sunday review of the mainstream media, where we're going to feature the Face the Nation interview with J.D. Vance, among other highlights from the Sunday New York Times. So let's get into today's news, or the news from the weekend here that is breaking at this moment. The top story today is from Reuters. Trump at the zenith of his power moves quickly to take over Washington. The lead from Reuters. Donald Trump has been in office for 5 days, and yet he has already imposed his will on Washington with ruthless speed and efficiency, showing that even his most reactionary campaign promises were far from just bluster. The story goes on to say the Republican president has taken the first steps towards fulfilling his vow of remaking a federal bureaucracy he believes was hostile to him during his 2017 and 2020 presidency, reassigning or firing hundreds of civil servants in simultaneous moves against a swath of agencies. Indeed, what he's doing is preventing what happened in his first term, which was his bureaucracy out of control, attacking Donald Trump from within. Next headline up is breaking news. NBC News, Colombia turns away from military deportation flights from U.S. officials. U.S. officials say the flights were carrying about 80 Colombian migrants each. So these were military flights with the military U.S. Air Force C-130s, which, because the Colombian president said, were turned away because they were military aircraft. I suppose if they were civilian aircraft, he would have allowed them, but it's cheaper for the government to fly military than to charter, which would have been the case, charter civilian aircraft. Also, breaking news, OAN, One American News, is reporting Putin, the Russia-Ukraine war wouldn't have happened if 2020 election was stolen from Trump. On Thursday, President Vladimir Putin said that the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war would have never transpired if the 2020 U.S. presidential election was not stolen from President Donald Trump. Indeed, I cannot agree with him that if he had not been president, I cannot but agree with him that if he had been president, if his victory had not been stolen from him in 2020, then perhaps there would not have been the crisis in Ukraine that arose in 2022, Putin stated. He's not only a smart person, but a pragmatic person, Putin continued, regarding Trump. As for the issue of negotiations, we have always said that I want to emphasize this once again, that we are ready for these negotiations on the Ukrainian issue. I should have squeezed this other article in here because this is from Reuters. Mexico refuses U.S. military flight deporting migrants, sources say. I have to say right here, though, Mexico is going to receive a 25% tariff if they continue this snubbing of Donald Trump's position on deportation and immigration and border security. The same thing with Colombia, and we're going to get to that right now. Reuters also reports U.S. issues broad freeze on foreign aid after Trump orders review. So all foreign aid is under review now for all foreign aid, and particularly the ones that take action like this in Colombia and Mexico. Their foreign aid will be unfrozen last, at the very least. And with Mexico on top of their foreign aid, not being unfrozen perhaps, but they will likely receive a 25% tariff. Trump has said again and again, if you do not cooperate with the United States stance on immigration, particularly at the southern border, but overall, you will receive a penalty, either being sanctions or, if not sanctions, certainly your aid will be frozen indefinitely. More breaking news over the weekend. The Wall Street Journal reports Hamas releases 4 female Israeli soldiers under Gaza ceasefire deal. The hostages are the second set to be released since the multi-phase agreement came into effect, raising hopes for the lasting end of the war, thanks to not Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Reuters also echoes the headline: 4 Israeli soldiers swapped for 200 Palestinians. They're actually Palestinian militants. North Gaza shut over hostage still held. One American News is reporting a Florida man arrested following a tip alleging he made violent threats against Trump. It's not alleged. He admitted to it. I'm sorry. I should have had the text in there for this article. Basically, he made several Facebook posts saying that he referred to all presidential assassinations, obviously missing a couple because he's not that studious, but he referred to Lincoln, Reagan, and all these people that have been assassinated or close to being assassinated. In the case with Reagan, which one of these people are still alive? And he mentioned Trump. And then he said bullets for President Trump, and he made several other threats, was investigated, he was arrested, and the Secret Service is determining whether or not he's going to face federal charges, which I think he should. This was originally investigated by local Florida police and sheriff's department. Right, next up, CIA now favors lab leak theory to explain COVID origins. The new analysis that began under the President Biden administration is released by the CIA's new director, John Ratcliffe, who wants the agency to get off the sidelines in the debate. There is no way this was a zoonotic transmission, period. We all know what transpired. I don't need to digress any further into the fact that the Wuhan Department of Virology or Center for Virology in Wuhan, where the pandemic started, was experimenting on the very coronaviruses that produced and the very gain-of-function research that more than likely produced this strain of genetically manufactured coronavirus. New York Post, Trump blasts Rachel Maddow, cable news networks. MSNBC is close to death. Rachel Maddow is being paid an exorbitant sum of money to appear one night a week on the network. The rest of the network, which I reported earlier, that what is happening is people are turning a deaf ear to the constant harangue of racist, Nazi insurrectionists. That's not holding water anymore. Everybody knows that January 6th was not an insurrection and that people were unjustly prosecuted for trespassing. And I say unjustly, not that they shouldn't have faced charges, but the way the charges were brought and the cruel and unusual sentencing that followed for simple trespass, which is trespassing, basically going where you're not supposed to be, but receiving a stiff penalty as if you trespass in order to create another crime, robbery, etc., breaking and entering, vandalism, etc. If you just go where you're not supposed to go, like Owen Schroyer was one of the people that were sentenced, had a lengthy, Owen Schroyer for InfoWars, lengthy sentence imposed on him because he just stepped on Capitol grounds. He wasn't supposed to because he was barred from that because he had already been charged. In any case, left-wing media is dead, particularly the far-left media, and Rachel Maddow is going to be pretty soon relegated to the internet like Don Lemon. Another story coming out of the Wall Street Journal, Bill Gates, I coded while I hiked as a teenager. I was on the spectrum, probably. An exclusive excerpt from his new memoir, the co-founder of Microsoft describes his lucky adolescence and his parents' support for what he now sees as his neurodivergence. So now that Elon Musk has received so much favorable support for him self-diagnosing himself as being on the autism spectrum, now apparently Bill Gates wants to get that favor as well. But Bill Gates is an evil nerd. Revenge of the Nerds. He's an evil dweeb, a geek. You know, I'm not going to go into it. The fact that Elon Musk has been far above and beyond as an innovator than Bill Gates. Basically, his business acumen made him rich, not the fact that he developed operating software. I mean, he developed it early, but the fact that he struck a business deal made him particularly, and him the beneficiary, made him particularly rich. You know, that was why he is where he is now. But the only thing he developed was an operating system, while Elon Musk develops a lot more innovations than Bill Gates ever will. Speaking of innovation, AI, the shift. When AI passes this test, look out. The creators of the new test called Humanity's Last Exam argue that we may soon lose the ability to create tests hard enough for AI models. Dan Hendricks, a well-known AI safety researcher and director of the Center for AI Safety, the test's original name, Humanity's Last Stand, was discarded for being overly dramatic. Is it? So the fact is AI uses the internet. So if any human had the internet at their disposal while answering test questions, this is the point, is AI basically has the internet as a brain. If you had the internet all in your head, you could answer most questions yourself also. The fact being is that once AI becomes sentient, which is becoming super smart, which is a danger on its own, but once it becomes sentient, there lies the problem. I think that's it. It's a short special report today. I'm trying to work out a bunch of kinks in the program, in the podcast, so I'm going to do that continually. But I was finding I was getting a little bit verbose and bombastic. I do use this podcast as a soapbox, so you have to forgive me. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Don't forget you're under attack psychologically and biologically. Join me every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on Rumble for a live stream. Check out my other website, libpop.org, learn about libertarian populism. And I just wanted to say, that Trump is hitting it on all cylinders, hitting on all cylinders. It's been a fabulous week. And I also wanted to say, if you're following on YouTube, that Friday's episode was deleted because I was talking about endocrine disruptors and if there's a connection with gender dysphoria. So I will not receive another warning. I said if. I don't know if there's. And that's the claim I made, which I think I flagged. In any case, I'll see you tomorrow for our Sunday review of the mainstream media. As I said, I'm going to feature J.D. Vance's interview from Face the Nation, so stay tuned for that. All right. See you tomorrow. Respect.
The New World Order